What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another game development live stream where we're back in our, Godot series where we're going to try to build a game from scratch using Godot or Godot. I don't know how you pronounce it, but we're going to try to work on a game from scratch, obviously designing it and trying to implement our vision in Godot. So again, it's called Project Echo. We're going to work on the game design document today. We're going to see what we can get accomplished in the next hour and 20 minutes, something like that. We don't want to spend too much time. I'm going to be following along with this provided example for design document. Sorry for the white screen there for the Word document. If anyone's interested, I will send the docs there. It's a template that I saw and I found, and we'll kind of follow it. Try to build as much as we can. And eventually we'll move on to one-pagers and do the one page of our main mechanics. Again, it's not going to be that many mechanics, I hope. Don't want to explode the game here. But we got all the way up until target audience. So the next one is going to be concept and its gameplay overview. So yeah, let's make, I guess is it under introduction and then concept? Yeah, probably. So concept, then gameplay overview, theme interpretation, so this game design document was used for game jam, so I'm assuming that's why there's this theme interpretation, but we can have our own theme that we're kind of working with and playing with. Shouldn't hurt. And then primary mechanics, and then secondary mechanics. I don't know how much we're going to be able to write through this today because there's going to be a lot. So I think this section would be good to kind of at least label and figure out exactly what we want to do, using this as a template as an example. I'll just show the other monitor so you can kind of see. You guys probably can't see the template too good, right? I doubt it, but we'll see. So gameplay overview. So the person says on this document, for example, the player controls a mass of player cells, each with individual status, but moves as a collective. Individual cells may die or be created, which influences the total shape of the mass. By navigating through each level, the player must strategically manipulate the shape of the mass to be able to pass around or through obstacles to reach the goal. Do I know of any sites that organize dev idea schedule on a game, like in the form of blocks, to help with brainstorming? I know, I don't, there's Miro, which is, depending on the templates you use, Miro might be useful. I use this ClickUp application website, which is okay. I'm not sure if it's exactly what you would need. There was another one. What was it called? So like game development board. Trello. I don't know if you're familiar with Trello. Trello is another one. What would probably be useful if you want to do brainstorming, but typically I like to use Miro in a professional sense for this personal project. Maybe we would do a combination of Miro. I don't know if Miro costs anything. Maybe we can look at that right now. So you can sign up for free. I could sign in with email. Let me turn up this monitor real quick. And I think I made an account here. Tell us about your team. What's your team name? We'll just call it Project Echo or something because that's what we're working with. What kind of work do we do? We'll say design. What's my role? Individual contributor. Have you ever used Miro? Yes. We'll say quite often. Personal, company size, only me. Whatever. Invite teammates, skip for now, we don't care. Yeah, and basically this is how it works. And you basically can create boards and, you know, work with boards in this sense. I would recommend this potentially. It really is a matter of preference. So I think this is where I would eventually do my one-pagers for the mechanics that I want to work with. I think it's pretty nice for that purpose. And then, you know, once there's a one-pager design, we can kind of translate it into a more handwritten form. Yeah, sure, look at that, might do the job. I've been into Godot for like a week now and just trying to find a few ideas for a game, and I wanted the site to note down game ideas. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm also on the Godot learning train. Just to try to learn a new engine, you know. Been using Unreal for a long time. Thought I'd try to learn a new one, but today's stream, I'm not going to really focus on the Godot side of things. I'm going to be working on the game design side of things. And just try to develop from scratch, you know, just on the live stream and stuff like that. So you'll learn more about the game as I'm kind of just talking about it with the gameplay overview and stuff that we're going to be writing down. So let's see. The gameplay overview. Let me put this into bullet points. And then let's see if I can translate that to like handwritten form. I barely use this one either, so I think I could just do like that. Yeah, it's a list. So the player cannot see the environment, audio, clues, visualize parts of the environment through echo relocation, basic platforming. Do your job is fine. Came from Unity. My only issue is the support of the platform since it's kind of new. Might have issues with ads monetizations. Yeah. So far, so good, I suppose. I don't know. We'll kind of cross those bridges when we get there, I suppose. So basic platforming mechanics. Jump, crouch. You know, basic movement, physics-based movement, 2D, fear level. Fear levels will allow the player to I don't know what the phrasing would be, but you know, scream to visualize the environment slash stun enemies. Power-ups, environment interactions, something along that nature. I think that's... So let's see how I can write this in kind of long form as a matter of like a couple sentences, I guess. So the player controls a blind character exploring an unknown world. I'll say environment. I don't know if I want to use the word world or not. So the player controls a blind character exploring an unknown world. So the player controls a blind character exploring an unknown and must use their sense of sound to navigate obstacles and enemies. I don't know if I want to use the word enemies or not. Navigate obstacles and I'll say enemies for now. Let's see. Let's see. As the player, let's see. As the player moves, I don't know how I want to phrase this. Let's see. As the player, so the player controls a blind character exploring an unknown environment and must use their sense of sound to navigate through obstacles and enemies. Over time, the player gains more. So over time, maybe, and through interactions with enemies, the player gains more fear that can be used to, I guess I want to use the terminology like illuminate. That can be used to illuminate their surroundings with a powerful scream. Let's see, the player is a blind character exploring an unknown environment and must use their sense of sound to navigate through obstacles and enemies. Over time and through interactions with enemies, the player gains more fear that can be used to eliminate their with a powerful scream. With these tools, by taking advantage of environmental cues, I don't know, by taking advantage of environmental sounds and their own abilities, the player must reach safety. Maybe that's enough? I'm not sure if I like some of the phrasing, I should say. But I think that's okay. Let's skip theme interpretation for now. Let's focus on primary mechanics. So maybe I could do a different header here. This is, what type of header? Does it tell me? I don't think it does. So fear gauge. I think heading 3. Yeah, cool. So there's fear gauge, and then I'll say like echo relocation is the next one, and then they also have, sorry, I'm not showing this information thing anymore. Secondary mechanics. I don't know what my secondary mechanics would be. I guess like environmental. Echoes, I suppose. So basically, I think it would be cool, like if you have some sort of environment that you're exploring and you can, like, I don't know, like it's raining outside, so like the sound of the rain bouncing off the ground illuminates the ground, so you know you can just traverse there. And then there'll be parts where the rain doesn't hit the ground, and you can kind of interpret that there's like a hole there that you then have to kind of jump over. When there's like enemies or like NPCs around, you know, their growls or their movement patterns, their steps can make subtle bounces of the environment, so you can kind of gauge where things are for short periods of time and things like that. So I think that's primarily it. Like I don't know if the player should have any additional tools besides this like kind of scream that they can do. Like I don't know if they can like, you know, find like quote unquote power-ups or something like two, I don't know, metal beams or whatever that can bounce together that does echo relocations. Or maybe she can like, you know, if you find an object, you can kind of throw that object, but again, how would that look like in this type of game where you really can't like see anything, unless it's like a combination of something like, you know, you do a shout and it illuminates the environment for like, you know, 10 seconds, and then during that time you can kind of visualize and throw things. So maybe that could work. We'll call it like world interactions, because I want all these like secondary mechanics all to feed into the main mechanic of like the echo relocation kind of thing. Let's see. So secondary mechanics, I think that's it. You know, I want there to be different states. Like I want the player to be able to technically kind of like die, quote unquote. Like the rest of the document as well is something I'm not 100% sure about. Like I'm curious how like some of this will end up kind of being like, because he also gives examples of like timelines and stuff like that that I'm not gonna really mess with. So how I would want like the echo relocation to kind of look like, there's a section of Geometry Wars Explosion, I think. Like, oh my god, the quality is shit. But there's like just kind of the way the world, you see how like the background distorts, and you can kind of get a view of the grid in the background and stuff like that. Like that's how I kind of would want these screams and echoes to kind of look like. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish that. Sort of like a heat wave distortion lighting up the environment. I don't know if I would want to include, you know, colors, or if it's going to be like some, I don't know if it would be black and white. It might be black and white, similar to like Limbo. Or maybe like the other example here, the Perception, like something like this, which was a really good game idea, I thought. But it's more of a 3D kind of detective horror kind of game. I want this to be more of a 2D platformer / horror, where, you know, I don't think I would want you to be able to explicitly kill the enemies that are there, I would want to kind of just have you avoid the enemies and try to navigate around them and things like that, or trick them, something like this. So yeah, we'll kind of fine tune that as we go. Because yeah, I don't know, like Limbo's art style is really good. I don't know if Limbo, like I want the kind of movement and camera and kind of stuff that Limbo has. It's very physics-based movement. And yeah, I don't know, like maybe even like how the silhouettes are. I think that would be an interesting art style to go with. But yeah, we'll take things one at a time. So fear gauge. So as the player navigates through the environment and encounters danger, their fear increases. So, and I'm also kind of curious how the fear gauge would work. Is it like, you know, you press, I don't know, like space, and as you're holding it, the gauge goes down, and then when you release it, the scream lets out, and, you know, the longer you hold, the more fear gauge you have, the longer and larger the illuminated echo relocation is. Maybe it stuns enemies longer. I just don't know how I would kind of tell players. Maybe there would need to be threshold bars that kind of let you know that like certain things will and will not happen, but also I don't know how to kind of effectively communicate that just yet. But just on a high level, let's just write 1 or 2 sentences how this would kind of work, and then we'll worry about the bar there soon enough. So the more the more gauge that is used, the more powerful the scream will be. Powerful screams can have so powerful you can have additional effects such as enemy stuns. I think it would also be pretty cool if, like, you guys are definitely gonna get some sunlight. I'm just gonna not point you towards the sun. Sorry. I don't think that's any better. So you guys are gonna enjoy the nice little brightness there. I really need to get some curtains hung up here at some point. So I guess for the time being, I can put you somewhere. Nope. All right, for there is fine, I think. We'll figure this out later. I kind of want to add a note here for like interesting like level mechanics. Like maybe you could be stuck in a room that has like, I don't know, padded walls, so your screams aren't as effective, or you're in a room with very, like, I don't know if the word reflective is right, but like, I don't know, something that's like a metallic based room where the echoes are too strong and it really distorts things and really messes up your vision. Maybe there's some cool mechanics to be explored there. So we'll just have to see. I don't know how I'm going to develop a lot of these things, but you know, one thing at a time, right? So the player's main source of, I mean, what's the way to phrase this? The player's main source of what? Of effective navigation through the environment. So using the sounds generated from the environment, enemies, and themselves will give players a means to move through the world safely. Means to safely, I'll change this word to movement through the environment. I think that's okay. Sorry. I keep going to Facebook and stuff. I shouldn't really do that on stream when I'm showing you the screen. So I'm going to close that out. Those are the primary mechanics. So a lot of the secondary mechanics are more playing back into the primary mechanics of echo relocation, but you know, I'll provide some information anyway. So environmental echoes. The player can take advantage of their environment through use of sounds generated through the use of naturally occurring sounds. So I want to say artificial occurring sounds. And yeah, again, I don't have an explicit theme, so I don't know what we're going to do for theme interpretation when we get there. So elements such as rain, machinery, maybe even clocks ticking, player movement, player and enemy movement, I should say. So yeah, I think that's good. World interactions. The player can find and interact with elements of the world in order to generate sounds that can serve the purposes of navigation or player safety. I also noticed that like I get like kind of fish bully with this webcam. Let me see what's wrong with this. Am I like doing weird things? Can I deactivate and activate and then we're good? No. Let's not worry about that. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So I think that's fine for now. You know, we'll have to do what like a bunch of one-pagers to describe different types of I guess environmental echoes, enemy design, and things like this. We're gonna have to just also set up a simple prototype. We don't have to do anything too crazy. I don't think, but, you know, with the final inspiration of how things should look, I think that will probably be coming in handy. Let me write the next section. It's going to be art. And then there's like theme interpretation. I'm going to just do design. And then there's audio. Audio is going to be a big part at some point. Like I want these screams and the shouts to sound strong and powerful. I want just the basic environment echo relocations to kind of give subtleties and muffles. Music, I'm not sure if there should be, but we'll see. I think every game needs to have music, but we'll take it step by step, you know? Sound effects. Then game experience. UI. Controls. And then there's like development timeline. We don't care about that, right? I'm actually, I gotta start writing notes now because I'm having some like interesting ideas while I'm writing this stuff down, which I guess is the point, right? Let me fix this camera a little bit for us. There we go. I guess that's where this brainstorming Myro is going to be. Let me create a new board. Templates, the way we work, OKR planning, brain writing, idea, napkin. Is there like a one-pager? Kind of. So we'll use that template. This template kind of sucks, but we'll kind of live with it. So summary, key information, stuff like that. So I'm just gonna nuke that. That's shit. So let's see. Project, echo, fear gauge. one pager. So fear gauge. Boom. Honestly, this will be more organized at some point. We're not going to worry about it too much right now. Let's do sticky notes. So gauge levels provide more illumination of environment. So on full gauge meter, maybe because I'm thinking maybe at like a full gauge meter, the player maybe the player is like starts making more noise just passively, but I want there to be a disadvantage to having a full gauge of a full fear gauge bar, like because otherwise, you know, the player would just have a full gauge bar and just not do anything with it. So I'm wondering if there should be I gotta figure out, because it's like a sink and like a faucet, right? I gotta figure out, we kind of know how the player's gonna get fear gauge, but we need to give some sort of reason to use it and not to hold on to it for too long. So I think I'm just gonna like pose these questions to myself on this Miro board, and we'll kind of just answer those questions later. Why should the player use fear gauge? Trello was the one I was looking for. Couldn't remember the name. Okay, so yeah, you did find it. Yeah, we talked about Trello. Yeah, Trello is what I used that a long time ago. Trello, when I was working with, I think when I was working on Aquanox, they originally used the Trello board, and yeah, that was for a small group. I guess it's okay. For solo developers, yeah, definitely. Maybe for certain aspects of development, Trello is good. It's just, I guess, depending on what you want to do. So are there negatives to holding onto a full fear gauge? Just start writing these kind of questions down. But let's get back to where we were doing. So I don't know, do we need to write anything for theme, interpretation? Because we're not really doing a theme, so I'm just gonna take that out. So we got this section that we wanted to do. So for art, let's pull some references from the internet. I think will be our best bet. So Limbo game. Maybe we can use and then yeah, Geometry Wars. Maybe I can get a GIF. No. Or this series is going to be uploaded on YouTube. I guess you haven't started implementing the game. I stream on YouTube as well, so these streams should be available. I haven't really started the game. I'm doing a process of like actual like design stuff because I always go into the habit of like implementing stuff immediately rather than trying to make like design documentation one pagers and stuff like that. So I'm trying to go slow and try to do the process in a different way than what I'm used to. So there'll be a lot of design work and one pager stuff first. But also in the meanwhile, I'll be watching Godot tutorials and stuff like that. But eventually, yes, we'll get started. I know I don't want to get stuck in, you know, tutorial limbo. But we're also working on an Unreal project at the same time, also for learning purposes. I'll show that off in a second. All right, so I don't like that I can't put GIFs in. If I copy it as an image. No. Whoops. So click up, add GIF. So can I embed in, you can't embed content into tasks, comments, doc views and stuff. Okay, can I create embedded? Yeah, okay, great. Don't like how that's looking though. Can I do something like that? Cool. Can I go into the thing? I mean, can I? Oh God. Okay, and I can't undo that, right? Oh, here it is. Okay. So I don't like how small that GIF is. I guess that's just going to be my best option there. But yeah, those are my main sources. Let's see, perception, game, GIF. We did that as well. No, that doesn't work. Okay. So yeah, that looks fine. So yeah, I think these are good kind of references and stuff like that. Now, you know, I'll put more details into design, I guess, next time we work on the design documentation and stuff like that. And that game experience, UI, I know, let me put some bullet points in. Minimalistic UI. Fear gauge might be the only element. How can we make the fear gauge diegetic? Diegetic. I don't know how to spell diegetic. I think that's how you spell it. Like maybe maybe the fear gauge can work as something that's surrounding where the player is, so you can kind of know where you are based off this fear gauge that's like around you. That's just visually like on screen. It's like, you know, these like subtle echoes around you. And, you know, the stronger they become, the more vibrant they become, you'll know the stronger the gauge is. And then when you actually use it, it kind of expands outwards and you kind of scream and it will look like that. Maybe that'll be kind of cool. I just don't know how to find a reference for what I'm talking about when I'm talking about visualizing that. Now that I think about it, I've been playing Witcher, and they do something that I'm kind of thinking about. Let's see. So Witcher, Wild Hunt, Witcher Sense Sound. So you got the smell trails, but I'm looking for the sound stuff. I wonder, can I grab a screenshot from my own game, and just kind of view it there? Maybe. Might be easier. So yeah, let's jump briefly into Witcher. Good excuse to play some games, you know? Let's turn on the controller. I have to also get screen capture, snipping tool. And let's just see if we can find an example real quick. Yes. Okay. So like almost immediately we get we have an example. Okay, great. So yeah, let's put a timer on. Fuck it. 10-second delays, plenty.
Animal sacrifice.
Should we burn folk at the stake as they do on the continent? Better a sacrifice of goats and sheep, I think.
Okay, did I not set the timer correctly? What happened? Let's do 5-second delay. Ah, crap. Not enough. Not enough time. So let's do 10 seconds. All right, perfect. Right where the guard dog is. Boom. Awesome. Let's close out of Witcher now. Copy that. Something like that, I think, is, clear-ish. So yeah, we'll go with that. I think for now, yeah, we got a lot done. So yeah, let's like, I don't want to show off too much of my Unreal project because we're doing Godot stuff, but just to showcase the other stuff that we're working on for anyone else is interested, because my live streams are going to be split between these kind of two separate projects. So depending on which one you're more interested in, I guess you can stay tuned for one or both. And then yeah, after I showcase this, maybe we'll spend a couple minutes watching another Brackeys tutorial, just talking about GD script. And I think once we get through this one, I don't think I would have any other choice but to try to start developing the game a little bit. So that's gonna be the plan. So yeah, the Unreal project is just going to be an example project using the Gameplay Ability System plugin. And I want it to just be a showcased project that people can refer to and use as a reference. And I'm creating sort of a thread on the community message boards or whatever this stuff is called, the forums. But I also probably create something similar to the Tranex documentation, and basically a what's the word? GitHub documentation. But essentially, you know, we have a simple project. We have this character. We're going to update it to use the new motion matching setup project that they gave and provided the data for, just so we can have more interesting movement, and we'll kind of introduce strafing movement and stuff like that. So you have basic abilities like firing, dealing different types of damage, doing DOTs, having numbers draw on screen. And yeah, it's also multiplayer, so not everything is working correctly like sometimes, but you know, you have server client. You know, everything's kind of replicated, damage is replicated. Movement, everything, you can deal damage to each other. I also wanted to see what my FPS is going to be like. I was talking to a colleague about it. Guess I could do stat unit, right? Yeah, I'm getting 120. But again, simple map. Can't really expect more than that. Yeah, there's no death condition or anything like that, so at least not on the player. So that's the other project. So if that interests you at all, feel free to stay tuned for streams on that. So yeah, let's jump back into Godot. So we just finished the other Brackeys tutorial with the simple, you know, platformer and stuff like that. So we got a lot of cool information there. I know, I guess for the sake of prototypes, the game I'll make a very simple prototype that's very akin to this. And then we'll see about making like a 2.5D. I don't know what kind of, because I want like physics-based movement, but can I accomplish that in 2D? Can I use like, you know, 2D rigid bodies or something like that for movement? So yeah, that's gonna be our goal, more or less. So yeah, let's jump into let's stop with the music here. We'll jump into Brackeys' other Godot tutorial, the hour-long one on GD script. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to make a new project. I'll just exit out and relaunch. I don't know how to do a faster way here.
Level, object-oriented, imperative and gradually typed programming language with syntax a lot like Python built specifically for Godot. I know that sounds like a lot, but today we're going to learn it. While it's of course impossible to cover everything an entire programming language has to offer in just one video, we'll certainly try. In fact, we'll cover everything from variables and conditionals to getting input, inheritance, dictionaries, signals, and the list goes on. And who knows, perhaps we'll even figure out what GD stands for. Gandalf script? Green Day script? Gadolinium? We might never know. We'll start with the things that are considered to be most important for beginners and then move on to more abstract programming concepts as we progress. It's not as much a follow along as it is.
And yeah, just as a heads up, as I learn these kind of things, I always try to make a comparison to Unreal Engine, C++, and blueprints and stuff like that, just so I can get a kind of a frame of reference. So you might hear me try to make those comparisons. I already made those kind of comparisons for certain things like signals or, you know, event dispatchers and stuff like that. So I never used Unity, so I don't really know much. I used Unity like once in college when I was learning this kind of stuff. But yeah, I stuck with UDK back in the day and Unreal 4 and 5 up to this point.
Is an overview. So if you're a beginner, lean back and know that you don't have to understand everything the first time. Also, it's totally okay to stop the video and try some of these things out. You can always come back to it at a later time. We've made sure to split everything into clearly named sections, so hopefully you'll be able to use this as a reference manual going forward. And if you're a seasoned programmer transitioning to GDScript, this video should provide you with a nice overview of the tools at your disposal and how to approach doing different things. Keep in mind that this is a video on GDScript, not an introduction to Godot. So if you've never opened up Godot before, I suggest you begin with our video.
That's the one we just watched later last week.
Alright, without further ado, let's learn GDScript. But first, this video is sponsored by Codecrafters. If you've been writing software for
Okay, sorry, nope, not gonna
So here
watch
we are
that.
in an empty Godot project. It's really spacious in here. As it is custom, let's begin by making a script and adding.
All right, so we gotta make a new project, so we do GDScript brackies. What? Cool. The selected path is not empty. Choose an empty folders. Highly recommended. New folder. I mean, it's just. Why do I have one called first GDScript? Okay, let's make a new folder. So GDScript underscore brackies. Current folder, all good. Forward, pause, yeah, create and edit, version control. I don't care. Create and edit, right? Cool. Yeah, I'm also so used to like Unreal Engine controls. Like when you do left and right mouse button down and then move the mouse, you go up and down and stuff. You don't really have that here. I don't know how you move up and down, honestly. Is it like whatever?
Some code to print a message. To do that, we need a test scene, so let's go and hit the plus. I'll add in a node, rename it to main, and let's save this as a scene. So I'll hit Ctrl S, hit save. Let's add a script by pressing the scroll. We'll use the default template, and the name of the script should be main as well with a non-capital M. This creates a script with two functions. We'll start by focusing on the top one named ready. Think of this.
Okay, what? Wait, how does his get, ready and process?
As to name of hit save. Let's add a script by pressing the scroll. We'll use the default template and then
so test script. Oh, okay, so because it was empty. Okay, create. Boom.
the name of the script
We're
should
good.
be main as well
We're
with
good.
a non-capital M. This creates a script with two functions. We'll start by focusing on the top one named ready. Think of this as the start of our game. As it says here, this function is called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time, which happens right when we play our game. So we can put code in here that we want
So is there something similar to a construction script somewhere? Because this is basically Unreal's begin play.
to happen immediately. I'll get rid of the other function for now. You can zoom in by holding down Control while scrolling. Now right now the only thing in our ready function is the pass keyword. Pass basically means do nothing, and it will appear in functions we haven't filled out yet. So let's replace it with some code that prints our message. We'll write print, and inside of the parentheses we'll put our message in
Hello
quotation
world,
marks.
right? Mhm.
Hello world. We can then run the game by pressing this button here or hitting F5. It's going to ask us which scene we are going to run. We'll hit select current. And while our game isn't very exciting yet, we can now see that the console prints
So
our
we got
message.
hello world.
The output window here, or the console, is where it will display prints, and is also where we check for errors. Now to stop our game
Cool
from
beans,
running,
cool
we
beans.
press the stop button here or press F8. Syntax.
So F8 is the quick key for exiting out. Interesting. Okay.
Now, this might have worked for you and it might not. That's because there are a few things to be aware of when writing GDScript. The first is that statements like print here terminate with a new line. There's no need to add a semicolon at the end like in many.
Yeah, sometimes I accidentally write a semicolon because I work with C++ sometimes. That gets annoying. It gets a little frustrating.
Many C-based languages. And GDScript, similar to a language like Python, uses indentation to determine the structure of your code. This means that you use tabs to tell GDScript where your code belongs. In our example here, I'm using a tab to tell Godot that our print line belongs to the ready function. If I delete this tab, I get an error. Also, GDScript is case sensitive. So if I write print with a capital P, I will also get an error. So just a couple of things to look out for there. Now printing to the console is cool. Or I mean, maybe not as cool as backflips, but well, I can't teach you to do those. But I can teach you how to display text in the game window instead. To do that, we'll need to modify a node through script. Modifying nodes.
Oh boy.
1.0. First, we need a node to modify. Let's use a label. So I'll add a new node, choose label. I'll zoom in, center it on the screen. Make some more room. Let's add a default text. This is a label. I'll center it and override the font size. Now, to edit the text of this label through script, we need two things. We need a reference to the label, and we need to access the property in the label that we want to change and override the font size.
Okay, so he's doing a couple things. Centers it. Is it theme? Theme overrides font size.
Now, to edit the text of this label through script, we need two things. We need a reference to the label, and we need to access the property in the label that we want to change. In this case, the text. If we hover over text, we can see the name of the property through script, which is text with a non-capital T. So in our main script, we'll first get a reference, and we can actually do this by simply taking the label and dragging it into our ready function. Then we can access the property by
Hold on, this hovering shit's not working correctly. Like I left click and then, okay, there you go. Cool.
going dot, and we'll type in text and set it equal to hello world. And now when we play, our label changes to hello world. And we can use this exact method to change other things as well, such as the color of the text. In fact, there is a property called modulate, which allows us to tint sprites and UI elements. In the inspector, you can find it all the way down here under visibility. Let's change it to green. So again, we'll click and drag to create a reference to the label, write .modulate.
All right, cool. We got Hello World. Nice. Literally completed Braxy's tutorial today. I'd recommend the 2-hour 2D game tutorial from GD Quest. Use the channel since Braxy does not explain everything and goes kind of fast. You could try the other one after Braxy's, whatever you feel like doing. I appreciate that recommendation. We'll watch that one too. Something recently I saw from Pirate Software is like being stuck in like tutorial hell or tutorial purgatory, whatever you want to label it as. So I don't want to be stuck watching too many tutorials at the first go, but maybe this will be useful.
If you're new to Godot and not sure where to...
So let's find your first 2D game from zero with Godot. So I'm assuming it's this one that you're referring to. So yeah, we'll definitely watch that one as well. I appreciate the recommendation here. I want to get through this GDScript one, and you know, I think it'll be a combination of like half designing stuff and half learning for a little while before we kind of jump into an official project and stuff like that. Yeah, there'll probably be a lot of stuff like that we'll learn when that tutorial. So that's super cool. So yeah, we'll do that. We just gotta find time to do this stuff. Not enough time in the day. So yeah, let's keep going.
And set it equal to color dot. Here we have a bunch of different colors. We'll choose green. And voila, our label is now green. So this is how we can make changes to nodes when our game is running. But right now, not much is happening during our game. So let's see how we can use when our
How's
and
he
set
write
it
it?
equal to color dot. Here we
Color
have a bunch
dot,
of different
okay.
colors. We'll choose green. And voila, our label is now green. So this is how we can make changes to nodes when our game is running. But right now, not much is happening during our game. So let's see how we can use input to make our game respond to our actions. Input. Let's say we want to turn this label red when we press the spacebar. To do this, we first need to set up an input action. We'll go project, project settings.
Thank you for the follow, PTU5E. And thanks for talking and hanging out. It's much appreciated. Hopefully, we all get to learn something as we're going through this. So, thanks for the follow.
Input map. Here we can add actions. Actions allow us to bind keys to something that we want to happen. Common actions would be shoot, jump, or so on. In our case, we wanted to change a color. I'll just go ahead and call it my action so we can use it later for other things. Now let's hit add, and here's our action. Let's bind a key to it by pressing plus. It's now listening for input. I'm gonna press the spacebar and hit OK. And now our spacebar is bound to my action. Then in our script, we need to create an input function. We'll write func for function underscore input, and let's hit enter to autocomplete. Now, just like ready, this is one of the built-in functions of Godot. But instead of being called at the start of the game, it runs every time the game receives any input, such as when we press a button. Event is what we call the information about what triggered the function. Was it a movement of the mouse or the press of a key? We need to check if the event that triggered the input was our action being pressed. So we'll write if event.isActionPressed, and as you can see, our action shows up here, my action. Then we'll put in a colon, and if we pressed my action, well then we'll change the color. So we'll drag in the label, write .modulate, and set it equal to color.red. And we can just as easily check if the action was released. We'll go if event.isActionReleased this time, my action. Well then we'll take the exact same line and change it back to green. So now when we play and I press the spacebar, it turns red, and when I release it, it turns back to green. That's right, we made a party. A disco party.
Nice.
Now this is just one out of many ways to handle input in Godot, but since we're focusing on the GDScript language, I'm not going to go further into it here. I'll make sure to provide a link to where you can learn more about input if you're interested. Variables 1.0. Variables.
See, I wonder as well how we would want to handle things like debugging and stuff like that. I don't know if my game would be so complex then that it would require any kind of significant debugging, like on-screen debugging, or obviously you can have like print console log debugging and stuff like that. I wonder what's available.
Are essentially containers that hold.
So yeah, we'll watch this section on variables, and I think then we'll call it a day. We've been streaming for a good amount of time.
In the case of a player character, we could use variables for information like the player's name, health, damage, and perhaps if the player is alive or not. Let's make a health variable. At the top here, I'll write var for variable, the name of our variable, and then we'll set it equal to a default value. Now we can print this variable inside of our ready function. We'll write print health. And if we play, you can see that it now prints 100. Now we can easily change our variable. So before printing, let's assign a new number. Health equals 40. We can also assign a calculation. So health equals 20 plus 30. We'll set our health to 50. We can also add health plus equals, and then 20 will add 20 to our health. And subtract health minus equals. To multiply, we do times equals, and to divide, we do
60,
slash
right?
equals.
Yeah.
So if we run this now, it will do all of these calculations from top to bottom, and
T
then
to B,
print out
top
the
to
result,
bottom, baby.
which turns out to be 120. Let's look at an example where our player takes some damage, and we want to subtract the damage from our health. Let's try decreasing our health variable whenever we press the action we made earlier. So in the input function, we'll check if the action was pressed, and then we'll subtract from our health, and we can print the result. So now every time I press the spacebar bound to my action, we can see that I reduce the health. really cool. But as you can
I
see,
got
we can
print
currently
health, right?
reduce our health below 0, and nothing happens when we do so. If we were making a game, we'd probably want our player to die and the game to restart. Luckily, we can make our game react to variables by using if statements. If statements, or conditionals.
Okay.
If statements are the glue that holds all.
So yeah, that's where we're gonna end there. Definitely going over the basics too much, maybe. So you might be right, but I'm gonna watch it still, just for the sake of saying we watched something, you know. And then yeah, we'll jump into the GD Quest one. Again, thanks for the recommendation. So yeah, that's where we're gonna end it for today. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. P25E, thank you for the follow. If there is anyone else watching and aren't following here on Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated. We'll try to stream again, maybe on Thursday. Wednesday's no good, and you know, Friday weekend got a bunch of stuff planned, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully Thursday. If not, we'll kind of hit back up on maybe Sunday or back on Monday. So thanks, have a good night, and I'll see you soon.